Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another MoBetta trading episode. I'm your host, as always, Antonio, aka Mr. MoBetta. And today, guys, we're going to be getting into a few different charts, but per usual, we're going to be starting off with Bitcoin, talking about what things are lining up, what I'm kind of seeing, and what I'm expecting for Bitcoin and altcoins as we proceed. Obviously, we have had a little bit of a rough go of it as of late, right? I'll be the first to admit when we broke all-time highs back up here in October. We got a really good close above all previous all-time highs. I thought that that was kind of the trigger, and we were going to be off to the races. Obviously, we were not, and instead we reversed immediately from there and have since dropped about 20% on Bitcoin, right? Now, I know that when you're going through the thick of it and when you're looking at price action in this manner, it looks absolutely disgusting. It's scary. It looks like, oh my God, bull run is over. Everything is going to zero, blah, blah, blah. And it very well may be that is the case. However, I'm going to kind of break the charts down for you guys and show you guys what I'm looking at and why I'm not really convinced yet that the bull run is over, okay? So first things first, what we're going to start looking at is right now, as we are coming into the close of the day, we have 35 minutes left until this daily candle closes. What I am really liking, almost loving, is the fact that we are creating a tweezer bottom pattern right at a critical level of support, right at $100,000. And this level is critical. We know that because we've tested it once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times in the past. We've come very close to testing it here and here, and we've rejected away each time, right? And we've gone on to move higher. So this level holding, in my opinion, is absolutely critical if we are going to continue bullish momentum heading into the end of the year and into 2026, right? Now, one thing that I will note is that while we are on a local downtrend, right? Obviously, we can see this is a local downtrend. Actually, I don't want to use the arrow. We are trending down. Doesn't take a genius to understand that we have a high, we have a lower high, we have a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Okay, that is very obvious. At the same time, we are not in an overall downtrend. As you can see, outside of the local price action, Bitcoin has literally been just moving sideways for months at this point. Since May, Bitcoin has literally moved sideways. Okay? So while locally we're in a downtrend, overall we are literally just in a range. Now, mind you, it is a massive range. It is a $25,000 range at this point. A range nonetheless. It doesn't matter how large or small the range is. We are overall just consolidating in a range right now. And that's a good thing, because what we are doing right now is we've tested the lower limit of this range and we're now moving away. Now, if we can close this daily candle, a strong bullish candle like this at support, just as if we were looking at this on a 1 hour or a 30-minute or a 15-minute time frame or 4 hour, doesn't even matter what time frame you're looking at, what would you say? You would say this is a bullish candle being created on critical support. So that would indicate that if the next daily candle, just like I tell you guys in every video, if the next daily candle can create a wick down that respects this lower wick here, and then we can break this wick's high, the previous daily candle's high, then we have a very good opportunity to move up into the next area of resistance, which in this case would be around $110,000. Okay, I hope y'all can understand. Y'all are following me. Now, why is that? Because no matter what your opinion is, no matter how you feel, no matter whether you think the markets are bullish or bearish or whatever, the simple fact is that we are creating a bullish candle on support. That is creating another area of support. So if we can respect this area of support and respect the lower wicks, and then we can break above this daily candle's high, that gives us room to move back up towards the next area of resistance. And let me paint this blue for you so you can understand, so you can kind of get an idea. Right now, is it going to be just one candle that goes straight up and fills this void? I don't know. It's possible. It's not, I wouldn't say that it's out of the realm of possibilities. I would expect more of kind of a choppiness and work our way up into this area. But it's very possible that if there's enough strength and there's enough demand down here, that we do just get one candle that fills this void, right? This is obviously would be considered a very clean candle run, right? Boom, you got two candles moving straight down, no buyers in this area. If we were able to break above this candle's high, it's very possible that we trade one candle right back up into $110,000. Now, do we stop here or do we just continue going and then, you know, retest the upper limit at $115,000? Who knows? Okay, but from a purely technical perspective, there is nothing overall bearish about the chart, in my personal opinion. Now, there are going to be people who feel otherwise. Maybe you're one of the people who thinks, whatever, I don't give a fuck what you're saying. Nothing about this chart is bullish. We are going lower. You may very well be right. I'm simply going based off what I see and not how I feel. Okay, because it's easy to feel like the end of the world is approaching, the sky is falling, when we're approaching the lower limit of a range. That is what ranges are meant to do. They are meant to make you feel like everything is over and then we're so back, and everything is over and then we're so back, right? Everything is over, we're so back. 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 Everything is over. Like, come on, man. It's over and over again. It's a washing machine, right? That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to shake you out of your conviction. Now, if you're just looking at this, again, from a technical perspective and from a candle perspective, the candles are going to tell you all that you need to know. And as long as this bullish candle's low is respected, we are not going to be going lower. Only until or unless we get a bearish candle to close like this, right? Until or unless we get a bearish candle to close like this, and then the next candle can create a wick up and break this low, okay? If that were to happen, then you can say, okay, well, there's below these wicks, there's a good range all the way back down until the $93,000 area. That's about a 6% move. That's 600 pips or 6,000 pips, whatever you want to call it. It's a $6,000 move, okay? Until or unless that happens, I'm not going to anticipate price moving lower if it's not giving me any reason to believe it's going lower, okay? And that doesn't mean that we're going to print this candle and then boom, the next candle is all-time highs, or the next thing that we're going to see is all-time highs. We can very easily just meander around in here and create a range that is just excruciating for people, right? Again, that is what ranges are meant to do. But as far as price action is concerned right now, as things are developing and as they have developed, I would imagine that if we can get this candle to close bullish and the next candle can break above this candle's high, we are setting in motion the possibility of returning back towards $110,000. Okay? Whether we get there or not, I don't know, but I would imagine we will. Okay? So yeah, That's pretty much how I'm feeling about Bitcoin right now, right? Again, it is very scary when we are crashing through areas of support that we deem as very critical, pertinent for bull markets to be continuing. But as it stands right now, we have not only did we not close above or close another bearish candle below 100,000, we didn't even close this liquidation candle below 100K, right? So we've actually closed this very strong daily bearish candle. We closed above support, okay? Where candles close is of utmost importance. It does not matter where candles wick to necessarily, right? Now you can obviously, the fact that this wick was created all the way down here, you could anticipate that most of this wick or all of this wick was going to get filled at some point. Still, even then, it took a lot of time, right? We got really close and then we ricocheted all the way back up and we made people think, okay, well, that's the end of the bearishness. We're going straight to all-time highs, and then rotated all the way back down and filled this wick. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that can happen. But again, from a technical perspective, this candle closing bullish is a good thing for bulls. Okay, it's a good sign. And if you don't know what a tweezer bottom is, I recommend that you go and look up tweezer bottoms. It's a classic charting pattern. It's a classic candlestick pattern. There are plenty of candlestick patterns that you can identify and find that have high probabilities based on classic candlestick charting. This is one of them. If we can create a tweezer bottom here, there's a very high chance that we're going to retest this $110,000 area. That's how I feel about Bitcoin at this point. The only thing that is going to get me overall bearish and long-term bearish is a close below 100,000. If we close a candle below 100,000, my thesis changes, and I don't believe that we're in the mood or we're in the works to go higher at all. I would imagine that we're going to come much lower into the $90,000 range, and we'd have to see how we react around here to know whether or not we're going to drop lower into the lower to mid 80s. Okay. But as it stands right now, Bitcoin is simply in a range. We are retesting, and quite frankly, not only are we retesting, but we are rejecting away from this lower area of support, which is a good sign initially. Now, we're obviously going to need more time and space to develop, i.e. price action. We're going to need more price action to develop in order to kind of cement the overall direction, whether we're going to be rotating back up and, potentially going higher, or whether we're just going to continue ranging. But as it stands right now, a break above this daily candles high, in my opinion, leads us towards 110, 111,000, give or take a few dollars. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling about Bitcoin right now. If price develops in a way that makes me think otherwise, I will come back on and I will let you guys know. But as it stands right now, retesting the lower limit of this range. When we retest the lower limit of the range and we create a support on the, we create a bullish candle on support, that typically means, or typically leads to us retesting the next area of resistance. Okay, hence why I have $111,000 marked out. That is where price tried to push to before it broke support and tried pushing lower. Okay, cool. So that's Bitcoin as it stands right now. That is my overall thesis. That's my overall ideas. That's how I'm looking at Bitcoin right now. I'm not bearish at these levels, and I won't be bearish until we get a close below $100,000. Okay, cool. So that being said, let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum is a little bit different, though we can anticipate that with strength in Bitcoin, we will get strength in altcoins, especially Ethereum and the majors. But from this particular chart, we'll just go ahead and break this down. Now, this is obviously a much different looking chart than Bitcoin, in my opinion, right? Where Bitcoin held this area of support, ETH broke this area of support. Okay, broke this area of support, broke two major areas of support. 3730 had held as support for really like a week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks we held support down here, okay, before finally busting through. We came and cleaned up and took out this area of support down here, which had acted as a springboard to send us higher previously. However, we did not break this low, so we're respecting this low, and now we are attempting to reclaim this area again of critical support on Ethereum around 33.76. Where it stands right now is at about 34.29. Okay, so in my opinion, if Ethereum can close this daily candle above 33, looks about 33.80, 33.75, give or take a few dollars, we'll say 33.80, okay, just for simplicity's sake. If we can close this candle above 33.80, and then the next candle can wick down and respect this low here, right? I wouldn't even really want it to retest the whole body, but if we can wick down and respect the low, and then we can get a candle to break above this high, we have a clear run back towards 3,900 potentially. Okay, again, is it going to happen in one candle? Unlikely. Is it possible? Anything is possible, but I doubt that it's going to be a one candle move. This is for visual representation only, right? But this would be what we would call a V bottom. Were it to be able to create a candle like this, this would be a V bottom, and that would look really healthy for continued move to the upside if we are able to hold this area at around 37.25. Okay, but that's, you know, at this point it's just speculation. So what are we seeing right now? Well, obviously this area is no longer an area of support. We crashed right through it with little effort. Okay, so this now at 39.16 is our new area of resistance. Why? Because we pushed up and then we broke support, closed through support, and that continued our move down. This makes this our new area of resistance. And this now at 32.75 is our new area of support. Okay, now reclaiming this 33.80, 33.90 area is important because that was a previous area of support. Okay, so if we can reclaim this level and hold it, that would make me believe that we're gonna get some upside movement. Okay, so again, just like Bitcoin, the only thing at this point that will get me bearish and make me believe that we're headed lower on Ethereum is if we got a candle to close bearish below this support. Okay, and in my opinion, the candle does not even have to close below the wick. If it simply closes here below this support and then the next candle creates a wick up that respects this high and breaks below this candle's low, then I think that we're headed lower. 2900s would probably be the first area that we would stop at, maybe see some reaction here, but I would imagine that we're likely headed into the 2800s, if not even lower than that. Yeah, scary proposition, but you know, maybe we only get a wick fill before we get some bounce back. Who knows? But that's only if we were able to close a bearish candle below this support here that has developed around 32.70. Okay, cool. So again, we close bullish. This is a little bit more nuanced, right? Because we're kind of in no man's land. We're not at an area of support, though we are reclaiming a previous area of support. We're creating new support here. So it could take some time to play out, right? Like we could just not break past this high at all and just kind of meander around here and create some support, and then we get up and get up out of here, right? It could very well be something like that, which is fine. You know, then that just means that this becomes our range and this becomes our range and we trade within here. Okay. The only thing that would get me bullish is if the next candle, the next daily candle, were to wick down and create a strong bullish candle close above here, right? It doesn't even have to be a huge candle. It can be something like this, right? That closes. Let me just extend this wick. Let me make this wick down a little bit lower, right? Maybe it closes something like this. Make it. Okay. If it were to close something like this even, that's still a bullish candle, and the next candle could still, same principle, close or push down, respect this low, break this candle's high, and then, we're off to the races back up to the next resistance. Okay. So right now it's basically just a waiting game. We're just going to wait and see what the next few days are looking like, and possibly we might need to wait into Monday to even get a clear direction of where price is going. But at this moment, what it would seem, or what I would expect, is that if we break above this high, we have a very clear area of resistance around 39.20. Doesn't mean it'll make it all the way up here, but that's an area we can target. Okay. And then, maybe it comes up here and it starts to stall out around here. Okay. Then you can cut your trade. If you're in longs, you can cut your trade. If you're in shorts, you can look to enter a trade, right? Back and maybe take it back to the lows. But as of right now, I'm not bearish until we get a candle to close below 32.70. Okay. The time to be bearish was when we were breaking these lows here. Any of these lows that were broken was the time to be bearish. Now that we've broken all of these lows and we swept all of these liquidity areas, right? This is not a time to be bearish anymore. It's no longer the time to be bearish until price proves that it's time to be bearish. Period. Okay? So again, it's a little bit uglier on ETH. Obviously, we've just kind of had a rounded top, and we've moved lower, but as of right now, things are looking decent for a move back towards this next area of resistance. All right, cool. Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, this chart, in my opinion, is just kind of fucking bonkers, really. We go from 1400 to literally sweeping the highs at 5,000, right? Was it the high at 5,000 or just under? 49.56, where the previous high was at, let's see, let me zoom in here. The previous high was at 48.68. So we got a $50 sweep of the highs before absolutely plummeting back down, and essentially taking away 50% of the gains, right? All of the gains that ETH has made up to this point this year, so we're down 38.25%. ETH has erased all of the gains that we had up until this point this year. Kind of nuts to me. But if any gay coin is going to do it, it's going to be Ethereum and Vitalik Gatorin. Okay? So, yeah, at this point, those are my ideas on ETH right now. I'm not in a trade. I'm still playing the waiting game for now. Until I get something that is very obvious to me to take a trade, I'm not going to be in one. Though you could say that a 38% move off the highs is a good time to be entered into the market. Not financial advice, some would say. Some would say. I'm not saying, some would say. Okay? So, yeah, that's what we're looking at right now on Ethereum. Those are our levels of interest. Close below 32.75-ish. Probably leads to the 29.50s area, if not lower than that. A break above 35.10 or so likely leads to a move towards, not to, but towards 39.10. Okay? Not to, but towards. There's a difference in verbiage. There's a difference in vernacular. Please learn the difference. Not to, but towards. Okay? Who's to say what's going to happen for sure? All right? So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Solana now. Solana, wow, what a fucking hideous, disgustingly ugly chart. Jesus Christ, you thought Ethereum was bad. Fucking Solana looks pathetic, okay? But That's okay, because much like the other coins we have just looked at, Solana's actually looking at this moment not terrible. Okay, the chart looks terrible, but in this particular moment, overall we don't look bad. So just like everything else, Solana created this capitulation wick on October 10th and has since filled this wick literally to the penny. Solana filled the wick to the penny. Okay, maybe a little bit past. We filled this wick a little bit past this wick, right into support around $146, and we have now rejected off, and we're closing a bullish candle on support. Right, this is even an area that was previous resistance that turned into support. As you can see, right, we had resistance. This was a range that had been developing. Boom, broke through this resistance and then off to the races. Okay, so now we are closing this candle above this previous area of resistance. So some could say that this was just a back test of this breakout level, and now we're closing above this level of breakout, and we're going to be in line or with good potential to move back up towards this $190 region, $190 region, not price point, $190 region. Okay, this is an area now of resistance. Obviously, we have this as a significant area of resistance, I would say, as it, let me actually make this purple, as this was the area where price tried to push up and could not, and then broke support, broke back through. Okay, again, creating another, it's not quite a tweezer bottom, but it's a pretty decent bottom candle structure. Okay, ideally we'd want this daily candle to close above $168, but closing here still gives us the potential for price to, what does it say with me, wick down, respect this low, and then break its own high and potentially move back up towards $190. Okay, again, does it happen in one candle? Unlikely, but it's possible. Probably get some turbulence around $176, as that would be the underside retest of the breakdown. So, you know, that could be an area that you target at $176 and say, okay, if it gets here and starts to show some weakness, I would likely close my trade, as there's a potential for it to roll over and retest this area of support. Okay, but it's actually, when you look at this, not really a terrible structure, as far as we really just retested this really nice area of consolidation and rejected strongly off of it, which means that this demand is holding properly. This area of demand is holding. Okay, so that is a good thing for you Solana manlets. Okay, this is what you would want to see. All right, now again, is it necessarily going to go straight line up? Unlikely. Possible, but unlikely. More likely that we're going to get some turbulence and get some up and down movement before we can actually make a move up. But I'm perfectly on board and okay with us breaking this high and going straight line up back into $190. You know, then we would have some work to do around this area to know whether we're going to hold it or reject from it. Okay, so again, just like ETH and Bitcoin, while we are in a local downtrend, I mean, shit, kind of in a range. This is just really a ginormous fucking humongous goddamn range that we're in. So it's a little bit harder to interpret, but we obviously had a break in, you know, trend, retested the underside here of this breakdown, and then straight down. Okay, so technically local downtrend, but overall still technically bullish, or in this sense, we're just revisiting the lower end of this range. Okay, so revisiting the lower limit of a range and creating a bullish candle on support means we have created support, which means we have a higher potential to go higher. Okay, so just don't The number one thing that people do that I think they make a mistake out of, and a lot of times is because you're actually invested, like you're actually holding Solana or holding any of these coins, or you're holding Bitcoin, is that if you see price going lower and your wealth is decreasing, you panic, right? But at the end of the day, you can't let your emotions dictate what the chart is telling you. And at this point, what the chart is telling us is that we've entered an area of demand and we are holding this area of demand until this area of demand breaks again, until we get a candle that closes, that closes strong bodied, bearish. There's nothing to be bearish about at this point anymore. The time to be bearish was once we broke these lows on support. That was the time to be bearish. Now is not the time to be bearish. Now is the time to be defensive and ready to unload your ammunition. Okay? So, yeah. Again, break above the daily candle high. There's a high likelihood that we trade back towards $190, not to towards, back towards $190. Okay? So cool. That's what I'm looking at on Solana. Again, it could take some time. It's unlikely that we're just going to get a straight shot up. And really, you would rather it form a nice base here to establish this area as a really solid area of demand before moving away. That way you know that it attempted to make this a bearish location, but it couldn't. And instead formed a bullish base that would propel us back higher. That's what I would prefer to see. And quite frankly, that is what I am anticipating to happen. Okay. Again, so I would more expect that we're going to get something like this where we retest this area, but we can't break through it. And we form some resistances that we would need to get a candle to break above here, retest, and then boom. Then we have a clean candle run all the way to this left side to retest higher. All right. Yeah. Cool. So that's Solana. Now let's move into XRP. XRP, the hated and most greatest, the most hated and most greatest coin for a lot of people. Not for myself, but for a lot of people, is actually showing a ton of strength against the rest of the market. And I know for a fact there are plenty of motherfuckers on this on YouTube, on Twitter, on everywhere, just involved in crypto, that fucking hate the strength that XRP shows in these times. Okay? Why is this showing strength, or how is this showing strength? Well, look at the chart. I don't really need to say anything. Look at how shallow this dip was compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin dropped $16,000, $17,000. ETH dropped from $4,200 all the way down to $3,000, a $1,200 drop. XRP literally went from 267. I mean, it had a 60-cent drop. Don't get me wrong. That's a pretty decent drop. But the recovery has been, in my opinion, has been pretty spectacular here. Pretty spectacular. Now it's not necessarily anything to write home about, right? Like, it's not like, oh my God, like Zcash. Like, this shit didn't just fucking say, fuck the sell-off, we're going to 350. But what it did do was say, fuck the sell-off, we're not filling this October 10th wick like a bunch of other coins did. Didn't fill this capitulation wick, and now we have created support after sweeping the range low, and we are working on creating a bullish engulfing on this area of support, which would lead at minimum, in my opinion, back to a retest of this $2.68 area. What are we going to have to do? Say it with me. If we can create a wick that respects this low and then breaks this candle's high, we have a very good chance at returning back towards the $2.60 area, 66-cent area. Okay, this is really ugly, so let me make it a little bit less uglier for you. Still pretty fucking ugly, but in my opinion, XRP has held up its range better than almost everything else. Okay, and so that is quite encouraging. If you're XRP maxi, if you hate XRP, you're probably wishing that this shit closed below $2.18 and is now headed towards $1, right? Like, that's what haters do. Haters hate. I have no particular interest either way. I don't really care. But I do find it particularly fascinating, the obsession that Bitcoin maxis have with XRP and wanting its, essentially wanting to see its demise, and the resiliency that it shows against the rest of the market is quite fascinating in my opinion. So now we're about a minute before this daily close. And this candle is closing really strongly bearish or bullish, which is a good sign for XRP. If we can break above $2.38.5, there's a high likelihood we retest 267, and that's really not even that far of a move. That's about a 10-12% move. I mean, that's a pretty decent move, I guess. In crypto terms, it's not really that crazy, but in most other asset terms, that's a pretty fucking good move. A 10 to 12% move on $100,000 is a $10,000 gain, right? So again, now we could take some time to just play around in this area before we get a move up out of here, before we're able to break this high. Very possible, especially with tomorrow being Thursday, the weekend coming up. Who knows? In my opinion, with the weekend coming up and the way that the weekends have been trading as of late, let's see, Saturday, Sunday here were 2 bullish days. We can go back to the previous Saturday, Sunday. I believe those were also bullish days, right? We had Saturday finished bullish here. Sunday was a really good bullish candle. We keep going back. I mean, you could do this for a ton of different Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday and Sunday here kind of just stagnated, right? Let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, these were bearish Saturdays and Sundays, but anyway, you get the point. The last couple have been bullish. Would I expect that to continue? Who knows? Okay, all I know is that if we get a price to break above this candle's high and respect this candle's low, then I'm going to be playing the odds that we're at least going to fill this range here up until this support at around $2.54, and possibly, and in my opinion, probably more likely that we retest the upper bound around $2.68. Okay, so right now I feel like XRP is looking really good. This is a really solid range to be trading within. It's got a good, obviously, 12% that you can play around with in here. So yeah, XRP is looking pretty solid, held up really strong compared to the rest of the market. And again, the only way I'm getting bearish on XRP is if we have a candle that closes bearish below support at $2 and we'll say around $2.19, $2.20. If we get a candle to close strongly below this area of support, then I think, okay, there's a high likelihood we come and trade. If not all the way down to the bottom of the wick, at least fill a lot of it before being able to base out. All right, cool. Yeah, so those are really all the majors that I'm looking at right now. I will go ahead and also plot and take a look at Caspa right now. Now, this is another coin that is really starting to cause some disruption in the crypto industry. I'm not going to go into too many details about the coin itself. I'm just going to take a look at its chart, but I do find Caspa to be a very fascinating and interesting project, protocol, coin, whatever the hell you want to call it. Very fascinating in my opinion. So as we can see, we had this area of resistance at around 6.5 cents. We had a support. Again, this was the October 10th capitulation wick, right? So we had support that developed down here. I'll use the capitulation wick as the kind of last area of support, because once we broke through that kind of was like a that was your break of support, really. Even though we had some really like weak support areas show up down here, in my opinion, this wick was the area to hold, and we broke through it. Now, we broke through it, but we didn't fucking just obliterate it, right? We didn't just crash straight through. And now, much like XRP, we are creating a new support, and we're attempting to recover this breakdown, recover this October 10th capitulation wick, right? And we have created, it's not quite a bullish engulfing, right? I would have liked it more to have closed above about 4.7 cents. But if this candle, say it with me now,
Generate by AI.
if we can create a wick that respects this low and then breaks back above this candle's high, the bullish candle's high, the next area of resistance is at about 5.5 cents or so. Right? We'll just say 5.5 cents for a, for simplicity's sake, because 5.3 cents is not fun, right? But this is the next area of obvious resistance here. This is the next area of obvious resistance where price tried to push up and couldn't, broke through support, and then capitulated down. Okay, so this would be the area where I would expect price to trade into before finding some turbulence. Otherwise, it could possibly just, if it did something like this where it just closed straight through it, then you would expect that, we probably get a move back up into this area here. Okay, but Casbah, honestly, not looking really, really bad right now from an ROI perspective. This could be a really, really generous trade opportunity, right? And we're also, if we drag this area of support over, right? This was an area that created support way back in October of 2023 before doing what? Hello. Held this area of support and then fucking rocket shipped almost 300% in just a couple of candles, and ultimately traded up almost 400%. Okay? So needless to say, the area that Casbah is at right now is a very important and critical area. This was an area that was that created a range over here. As you can see, let me lower this capacity, or opacity, I should say. We had this range develop, right? And now we are retesting this range. We are retesting the lower limit even of this previous range that catapulted Casbah higher. So this area is an important area to hold, in my opinion. Otherwise, we likely trade back into the 3.5 cent area. Okay, so now this is not like a great rejection. This is not like anything, again, to write home about, but it is very intriguing that we are slowing down, right? The selling has slowed down and eventually has now turned into a buyer's, so an area of demand, after sweeping the capitulation wick. In my opinion, that likely leads to the other side of the range. If we can get a good candle to close above here, the next side of the range would be around 6.5 cents ultimately. Whether we get there or not without some turbulence, who knows? We'll have to see. But as of right now, looking pretty decent. Again, like everything else, the only way that will change for me is if we get a candle to close bearish strongly below this 4 cent area. Then I would imagine that we're going to lose this area of support and trade back down lower into the 3.5 cent area. All right. So yeah, I mean, we could look at 1,000 charts. They're all really going to look the same. And at the end of the day, everything is going to be predicated on how Bitcoin operates from here. Everything moves as Bitcoin moves. That is clear as day. And that really can't be debated. Right? I will say that one thing that is pretty encouraging, and if you've been around long enough, right? I've been here since 2019. So, excuse me. I've been here since 2019, so I've seen a lot of different price action. I've seen a lot of different capitulations, and I've seen, plenty of different runs up. What I will say, where was I even going with this? Fuck, man, I just fucking completely lost where I was going. I really had something that was, this is what I was gonna say. Okay, I just reminded myself. One thing I will say is that in bull markets, they operate as this goes. It goes Bitcoin, Ethereum, alts, memes, and so forth, right? Memes probably being, this is really, once memes go, you're marking the end of the cycle, and then it's all hell from there. Okay? So what have we had? Everybody's complaining about the fact that we have seen a run up in Bitcoin and we've seen a run up in ETH. Now, ETH only eclipsed its all-time high by a few dollars, but it literally ran from $1,500 to $5,000. Okay? That is a fucking huge return. Okay? Now, we've seen the run up in Bitcoin. We've seen the run up in ETH. If the cycle is going to continue playing out as it has in the past, we are literally on the brink and in the mix of alt season right now. And there are a couple of things out there that are giving me confidence that this is where we're at right now. Namely, Zcash, privacy coins. While everything else has completely shit the bed and fucked its own asshole all the way down, Zcash said, fuck all of y'all. Fuck the gay bears. Fuck a sell-off. We're going to go higher. From September to now, we are up 800% on Zcash. What the fuck is Zcash? Zcash, obviously, well, okay. I'm not going to say what the fuck is Zcash. I know it's a privacy coin. It's very, in my opinion, kind of really important to the framework of crypto in a whole. But nobody's trading fucking Zcash. Nobody's looking at Zcash unless you're a Zcash maxi, which, I would say for the majority of fucking 4 years, 3.5 years, everybody's been fucking shitting on Zcash as it sat doing goddamn nothing. And all of a sudden, just as bamboo takes years to grow before it sprouts, Zcash took years of consolidating before an 800% pump. Now, why is this important? Because Zcash is an altcoin. At the end of the day, it's an altcoin. It's not Bitcoin. It's not Ethereum. It's an altcoin. And it has made an 800% move. Now, this is what we have been expecting to happen from alts for fucking months, for a year already at this point. This is what we want to see alts do. It has done it, right? And there are other coins that have done it. I'm not going to go take a look at them right now. I know like ZK has pumped up. There's been a few others that are Ethereum based protocols that have made some major runs up. But this gives me some real confidence that the alt cycle is beginning or has already begun. Okay? And what we're seeing is a rotation out of Bitcoin, a rotation out of Ethereum, and a rotation in to altcoins. Okay? Call me crazy. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm a fucking retard. It's very possible. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the coming weeks and into the end of the year. All right? So, yeah. That was a very long spiel. I don't want to hold you guys too much longer. We've already been on here for like an hour or so, right? 49 minutes. You've heard 49 minutes of me running my fucking mouth. And all to say that I think that the selling pressure is going to be done, if not now, pretty soon. And now we're going to see some rotations back to the upside. Now, Does that mean that Bitcoin makes a new all-time high? Maybe not. I still think that we are in the I still think that we are going to make all-time highs, new all-time highs for Bitcoin. Whether it goes to 150,000 or some shit like that, I don't know. Maybe, probably not. But I will say that we basically just been in a range. We've been consolidating since May of 2025. Okay, right? We've been consolidating since May. For all of you fucking small brains, that is a 182-day consolidation. 6 months. Okay? We have been sitting here for 6 fucking months in this range. My personal thesis is that we're going to resolve higher up into the 130, 140K region before it all goes shitting on itself. Okay? Now, obviously, again, we get a break below 100,000, and I think that changes my perspective for the short term. But, you know, as it stands right now, that's what I'm fully expecting. And I think that we're going to get, and we are beginning to get, our rotation into altcoins. I could be eating shit for that. And, you know, if we do indeed just bleed the fuck out and everybody, you know, is left crying and fucking wallowing in their sorrows and tears and bag holding all the way down to zero, then, you know, so be it. So, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that's where we're at right now in the cycle, but I do think that we're getting close to the point where you're either going to want to get the fuck out. Once you see things going a little bit crazy, you're either going to want to get the fuck out. Because once alts and memes start going crazy, that typically marks the end of the cycle. We haven't gotten that yet outside of a select few. And I still don't think that in general, the whole entire market is going to go shooting to the upside. I think it still will be some select coins. Privacy coins are probably going to be something that people are going to start rotating into now that they've seen Zcash do an 800%. You know, Monero is probably going to get its time in the sun. There are going to be others that are going to get their time in the sun. But I think there are also going to be altcoins, major altcoins, you know, like Casba. I think, I wouldn't say Casba is a major altcoin, but it's getting a lot of traction. So I really want to keep an eye on Casba. Solana, XRP, of course, two of the other majors. I think all of these are going to get their time in the sun. And I think we're really right on the brink of that. So, again, could be eating shit for that, and if so, I'll totally take it. I don't really give a fuck how you little twat fucks think or what you think about my predictions. I'm simply here to tell you what I'm seeing from my experience in the markets, from as long as I've been around here, what I think is going to be happening in the short term. Because at the end of the day, nobody really knows what's going to happen. We can only go based on what the chart is telling us. And at this point, the chart is telling us that the selling pressure is slowing down. Buying pressure is picking up in a critical area of support for Bitcoin especially, but also for many altcoins. And I think that we're going to start getting that rotation from Ethereum into altcoins. And we'll have us, if not an extremely euphoric alt season, we'll have some sort of alt season. And I believe we're right there on the brink of that. Who knows? Maybe even the rest of November is just up only from here. It's very possible that it could be. November and December are two of the better returning months for crypto. So, you know, something to keep in mind. But anyways, enough of me gibbering and jabbering. Y'all have heard a fucking enough. 49 minutes, 50 minutes of me just talking my fucking life away. I'm trying to give y'all a really detailed breakdown so there's no confusion about where I stand and about what I think is coming next. But there are very clear lines in the sand here. Either way, there's clear lines in the sand to the bullish side. There's clear lines in the sand for the bearish side. You know, you got to kind of pick your poison here. For me, I'm going to be waiting for confirmations to give me a better idea and a stronger conviction either way as to where I think the market is going. But as of right now, where it stands, I still believe we're going higher, period. Cool. Thank you guys for sticking around with me. If you are still around, you made it all the way through this hour-long breakdown, I would greatly appreciate. If you don't want to subscribe, that's perfectly fine, but please just hit a like on the video. Let me know that you guys enjoyed this content. Let me know, comment down below if there's any other coins you want me to take a look at, if there's any other things that you want me to express, if there's anything like technically speaking, charting wise, like as far as technical analysis, if there's any other things that y'all want me to break down or go more in depth about, please let me know. I'm more than willing to do that. But yeah, until the next time, until we get some further developments, I would say maybe if Friday, if the rest of this week turns out, decent, I'll come back Friday. If not, we'll come back on Sunday. We'll have a preview for next week's price action, what my thoughts will be for sure on Sunday. Possibly come back on Friday, depending on how price shakes up between now and then. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get out of here. Thank you again for sticking with me. And remember, always, price action is king. Fuck how you feel, trade what you see. Y'all have a wonderful night.